Good morning, folks. It's Tuesday, July 16th. It's a beautiful day on the farm. We just got through about a 4-day period, 4-day period of really hot, humid weather. Pretty miserable to be doing anything outside. Bugs were really bad. We kind of tried to get as much done in advance of that as we could, and then took it pretty easy for those couple days. We also had a little bit of severe weather roll through. Thankfully, didn't take on a whole lot of rain, because we've had enough of that so far for the spring and early summer. But we did get, I don't know, something between 1/4 and 1/2 inch, I'd say. Now we're looking at about, well, I'm gonna say a 5-day period, but really it could be kind of indefinite at this point, of like no rain in the forecast, which is, you know, a welcome thing. Everything, we need stuff to dry out, and we're working on trying to get some hay made. So we really need the break from all the precipitation. Got deer flies attacking me on the camera while I'm filming here. Anyway, getting to the point, because it is such a nice day and because we have this stretch of nice weather in front of us with low humidity and cooler temperatures and sunny days, Dad's out cutting hay this morning, and I'm gonna go check on him, make sure everything's going okay. And then I have got some other things to do around the farm, and we're gonna make it a full day here. Man, I wish the camera came with smell-o-vision so that I could relay this fresh cut alfalfa smell to you guys. It's just glorious. Those of you with a keen eye might have noticed that Dad wasn't taking a full cut with the haybine. That wasn't a mistake, that's by choice, because this hay was fairly heavy and we want it to dry quickly. As we're making like horse quality hay, the drier and the greener it is, you know, the faster it dries, I should say, the greener it stays, and then that really aids in the appearance of it. Probably arguable in whether it aids in the feed value of it, but the better it looks, the better we do when we're selling it. So he was taking like about an 8-foot cut. He had the haybine set a little bit narrow, just so that he makes a little bit lighter windrows so that they dry down a little bit quicker. And with the low humidity over the next few days in the sun, this crop should dry down really quick, and we should be in good shape. And one further note too, because I get this question all the time, that haybine has the B&D crusher rollers in it. Our old haybine rollers delaminated, the rubber came off, and we replaced them with B&D rollers. And I have a whole video of that in the past about us replacing those rollers and the process it took to get the old ones out and the new ones in. And people ask me questions all the time about whether we like those rollers and whether we thought they were a good investment. I love them. I love them. And putting that hay through those rollers, it's got some dew on it this morning. That'll dry off, and all the internal moisture of the hay will start evaporating away. And it's Tuesday morning right now. There is a very good chance, and we'll see if I'm right about this, but there's a very good chance that we'll be raking that hay on Thursday morning, and we'll probably be baling it by Thursday afternoon. Maybe not. It might have to wait till Friday if we get, you know, some high humidity one day or whatever, but that's not in the forecast. So if things stay dry, we'll be baling within a couple of days. So basically, long story short, that was a great investment. I think maybe one of the best things we've purchased on the farm that was expensive in terms of the payoff it gets us, because in a good year, we sell a lot of horse quality hay, and the faster we can get it dry, as I said before, the better it looks, the better it sells. So I left him to keep cutting, and my job now is to scout some stuff. So we've got some meadow areas. Normally in a drier year, we would have baled this meadow area by now. We typically try to make hay off of these meadows twice a year. Not real big, but they do supply some hay for my sister's horses, and we do sell some of it. It's just been too wet to get in, so I was walking these to see if we got any standing water anywhere out here, or if there's any indication that if we come in here with the tractor and the haybine that we might bury it. We don't want to do that, so checking that out. And then I need to scout this field too, which is just a mess. You may observe that it's a lot of weeds. There's a bunch of ragweed in here, kind of a mix of grasses. I talked about this in a different video. Maybe I'll just briefly cover it again, what happened here. So this field was in rye last year. We harvested the rye for grain, took the straw. Then we did some tile work and some erosion repair in this field. We worked it lightly with the field cultivator and brilliant seeded it to alfalfa in late August. That's September 1st is kind of the final seeding date for alfalfa in Minnesota if you're fall seeding. It didn't rain until the end of September. Everything germinated and then it all winter killed. Except for the rye, which came up in the spring, and we had a huge crop of volunteer rye out here. So in the spring, we were going to reseed it back to alfalfa, or actually an alfalfa grass mix. We terminated the rye, worked it up, brilliant seeded it, did it all too quickly because we had a weather window that we were operating within and trying to get done before it rained again. And what ended up happening is that all the alfalfa and grass seed we put in here was killed off by the allelopathic effect of the rye. We learned about that. I didn't know if it would be a problem. It's not a problem with corn and soybeans, but with small seeds, we found out the hard way that it does have a negative effect on those seeds. So our second seeding failed. So then I came out here with the no-till drill, and we had kind of this light grass coming up. It wasn't nearly this thick earlier, but I basically overseeded alfalfa in with the no-till drill. That was all coming up and looking good, and then we got just a ton of rain, and a bunch of it in the low spot drowned out. So now we're looking at potentially a little repair seeding. I don't know. We're talking about if it doesn't get through, if we get to the end of the summer and it doesn't look like it's going to do anything good, we may just spray it off and put corn in here next year. This is typically a wet field, so I'm scouting it today because we've had so much rain and it's only just quit raining about a week ago. We want to cut it today. We want to get all these weeds cut down. We'll get a better assessment of what's going on underneath this top canopy of grass, see if this alfalfa is coming through and where. It'll just allow us to assess it better. And so I need to walk this field and make sure there aren't any mud holes in here, because if it looks like it's stable enough to cut, Dad'll come in this afternoon. He'll cut this field too. This isn't going to yield a whole lot of forage, and it isn't going to be very high quality, so I'll be trying to market it at half price or something. I'm not quite sure what we're going to do with it, but we got to get it off the field to assess what the alfalfa is doing underneath and make up a game plan for what we can do going forward. There are times in farming where you do something that makes you look really smart, but actually you just got lucky. And then there are those other times when you make the wisest, most informed management decision you can, and Mother Nature does something to make you look like an idiot. So I always say I don't need to go to the casino and I don't gamble because it's too much like what I do every day. Well, Dad finished up cutting that field and I finished scouting the other fields. They're dry enough that he can go in and cut, so he'll probably end up doing that this afternoon. And I, in the meantime, am loading up 20 bags of cracked corn because I have a delivery to make after lunch. There we go, all loaded. This also means we're gonna have to put some corn through the roller mill later, but I think I will wait until it's cooler, maybe after dark tonight. It'll just be more pleasant to do that job when it's not blistering. Well, it's not really that bad, but it's hot in the shed here. Well, lunch is all done, and it's delivery time, so that's where I'm off to. Well, my delivery's all done, and I decided to check out here because Dad is cutting down that messy grass, whatever you want to call this, hayfield that isn't working out. Well, all I can say is it looks better cut down than it does standing. Be glad to be done with it. So with the delivery out of the way, which by the way was great, I met some very nice people. They were new customers and seemed happy to be getting our cracked corn. And I think maybe they might become long-term customers. You never know, but interactions like that are really nice, and they're one of the reasons that I really enjoy doing the direct marketing thing is you get to meet people and actually develop relationships. It's a lot different than sending a semi-load of corn to Cargill or CHS where you put it on the truck and a week later you get a check and nobody's really thankful or appreciative. It's just strictly transactional, and you know, it gets the job done, but it ain't quite the same. So it's worth it in that regard, I think, to do the direct marketing. Just because of those relationships. And it's more profitable for us, so I mean, it's kind of a win-win. That said, though, the rest of the day, it's about 3 o'clock now, the rest of the day is going to be spent doing some repair work. We have got to get the swatter and the combine ready to go because our oats are maturing very quickly, and it's not going to be too long here, maybe a week, and it's going to be time to swath the oats down. We need to make sure that everything's ready to go. That swather only gets a couple of hours put on it each year, and it spends a lot of time sitting, so usually I end up having to do a little tune-up on it and get it all set to go. It's over at the neighbors. Both of those machines are over at the neighbors in a shed where we store them indoors. So I'm going to load up some tools here, and we're going to go do a little diagnostic and prep work and see if we can get both those machines running. So here's our situation. We've got a bunch of goodies in the back of the truck, just various tools and supplies to get what we need to get done here, hopefully done. And this is the shed we rent part of. So this combine is not ours, but the pickup head here, the swatter, John Deere 800, those are ours. This we need to get tuned up and running today if possible. Pump up some tires, make sure they're good. It's the first thing we'll need for the oats, so we're gonna get this running first. Depending on the time, our 4400 here needs to have a tire pumped up. Should get this running, make sure everything's gonna fire up on it, make sure fluids are good in it. And then I should adjust the drive belts. I was starting to get a little bit of slipping last fall when I was doing soybeans, so bringing it over here down the road and stuff, when you go up a hill, you know, that's when you get slipping and stuff. So I brought the manual. I've got the steps figured out, I think, for how to do that. Never done it before, but we'll muddle through it. And I'd like to get those drive belts tensioned up before I bring this thing home. For the moment, though, we're gonna focus on this. This needs a battery. It needs to have water put in the radiator. It's got a coolant leak, so last year, after we let the coolant leak out of it a couple of different times, we just decided to put straight water in it, for better or for worse. And then we drained it before the winter, so hoping everything will be okay, and we'll just hook up the radiator hose. I took this hose loose to drain it out and get that hooked back up. I've got a bunch of soft water we can put in it just for the purposes of getting it going. I'd like to track down that leak so that we can keep coolant in it, but for the moment I'm not going to keep buying coolant if it's just going to leak out. This machine has given us probably more mechanical trouble per hour that we've run it than anything else on the farm. The reason I haven't gotten totally frustrated with it is that we only use it for 3 or 4 hours a year. It probably spends about 2 hours in the field and another 2 hours going down the road because the thing is so slow. It takes it an hour just to get from here to the farm, and it's only a couple of miles away. But, you know, we need it for windrowing stuff. I like to swath our grain because we take the straw and it gives it a chance to, for oats anyway, to go through a sweat period in the windrows so that we don't have like a dryer that we can direct cut the oats and put them on an air dryer or anything like that. We'd have to, it just wouldn't work. It's better to windrow it for us is, I guess, the point. Oh, hands too big. You know, I have a 5/16 wrench that might work better. Yeah, there we go. Now I can get in there sideways. One little tiny turn at a time. Oh, or I'll drop everything. All right, I got it. It's wedged way back there, and then this brace is in the way, so you can't get a screwdriver or a nut driver or anything directly on it. So that wrench did work after a little bit of poking around. This whole machine is just wild. Just the maximum number of engineering oddities in one piece of equipment. I think John Deere may have said, our competitors have a windrower, we need one, and then they put their new graduates on the task of designing this thing. Yep, that's not gonna go well. This isn't working. Good thing I had a water bottle with me. I'll take potent potables for 800, Alex. I am schlepping everywhere. All right, well, we got something resembling coolant in there, so now we got to put the battery in, which means this has to come off. One year we had trouble with this thing starting, and it ended up being a bad ground, so I ended up polishing everything up really good, and then that solved it. But like I said, we've just had kind of a number of issues with this thing. First, it had a Pertronix electronic ignition, And right after we bought it from the neighbor, that failed. We ended up buying an old style points and condenser that was new old stock that I bought off of eBay. And that solved that problem. Then when the condenser went bad on it at one point last year while I was cutting rye, it took me forever to figure out what had gone wrong. The ignition switch has failed. Oh, we also put a new starter in this at one point, which we probably didn't need to do because I think in retrospect it was probably a bad battery cable, and the battery cable's been replaced now. So we've just been putting one thing after another into this. Most of it's electrical and ignition related, which is fine. I can figure that out, but hopefully nothing major ever goes wrong with it. All right, folks, we got a battery, we've got coolant, sort of, something resembling coolant. I know we've got fuel, I checked the oil, so all that's good. So I think we can give it a try here. And if anyone wants to take bets on it starting, now would be the time. Uh-oh. Usually the carburetor bowl empties out and it takes a little while to pump up. But it turned over. That's a good sign. All right, round two. It doesn't want to leave the on position, so I'm going to have to get a push button switch and switch that out, or just get a proper ignition key, because this one, the start position on this ignition key failed. So whatever. Well guys, I'm going to admit I'm a little amazed. This thing has instilled a certain amount of fear and anxiety in me every time I have to work on it and get it going. So I'm really glad that it started up, because this whole video could have been ruined otherwise. Now I actually maybe look like I know what I'm doing. Okay, that concludes our first order of business. Our next order of business is this machine. See if we can get this started. Make sure it's gonna run okay. Maybe look at adjusting those drive belts. I don't know if I'll get to that today. It's getting a little later now, but I'm happy to have the Swather going. That's the main thing. Alrighty. Let's see, first thing, ooh, actually some pressure in there. Plenty of coolant, that's good. Can't believe that, sitting all winter, all summer so far. This is too dark for you guys, but I can see. Oil's plenty good, needs to be changed, but we can do that when this machine goes back to the farmyard. Well, the engine bay looks good, all the fluids check out, so we might as well just go ahead and give this a shot. So by contrast, this machine has never let me down for starting. So fingers crossed. Here we go. Oh, I jinxed it. Rats. Not gonna go. Well, that's a bummer, but not the end of the world. This is just like the Swather in that it's got to pump fuel up to the injection pump, which probably lost pressure over the winter. So you got to crank it a little bit the first time, and it just doesn't have the oomph. So I'll bring the charger over here, slap it on there. I'm sure by tomorrow it'll be ready to go. I decided in the short term that what I can do is pump up tires. So got the compressor going, checked those. They actually were pretty good. I thought they looked a little squatted down, but it must just be because the head is on. Well, weirdly enough, these are all good too. I just checked them. They're all at 16, 17 PSI, which is close enough to be fine. Running them a little low is not the worst thing. That gives them a little more footprint. And this thing needs all the footprint it can get. So I guess I'm at battery removal point for this thing. All right, guys, that's it. I did not remove the battery on the combine because the previous owners zip-tied it into place. I think that machine was originally set up with a couple of large 6-volt batteries. It was switched over to a single 12-volt. So I'm just gonna bring the charger back after supper and put it on there. I left the extension cord. I packed up all my other tools. I'm heading back to the farm. Well, folks, we're nearing the end of the day here today. It's been a busy day, good day. Lot gotten done. I am getting close to wrapping it up, but I have one last job I need to do, which is I need to put, well, about 25 bags of corn through the roller mill so that I can replenish the cracked corn that I sold today, plus another 5 bags that I sold a couple of days before that. I'm sure I'll have more orders coming in soon, so I don't want to let my inventory get low. I like to keep 40 bags on hand. That seems to be a nice number for where I'm at with the level of business I'm doing right now. I have a whole bunch of bags of shelled corn behind me here, so I just run those through the roller mill one at a time. They go through the mill and into that blue bucket that you see underneath, and I've got a second one so that I can swap them. And while one is filling, then I bag the other one up. It goes pretty slick. It's not the most efficient, but it works okay for, again, the level that we're at now. If it takes off, you know, where I'm doing a lot more cracked corn by winter time, I'll have to invent some kind of a more streamlined way of doing it with a little less hand labor, but this is fine for now. So I guess I'll get this process fired up and you can see what it looks like. And all you safety gurus out there are probably going to note the exposed roller chains here that are supposed to have a guard in front of them, and they don't. The roller mill didn't come with it. It's been long discarded. I've been meaning to make a new guard out of plywood and haven't gotten around to it yet, so you're going to see me operating my body and stuff close to those chains and try not to freak out too much. I'm aware of it, and I know it's not the best, but it is what it is. I'll get it fixed at some point here, hopefully before too much longer. Nice. All done with 20 bags. I actually timed it. No, sorry, 25 bags. The first 5 I was doing camera stuff and kind of, you know, didn't go at top speed because I was always messing with making sure I had a good shot, show you guys what's going on. The next 20 though, I actually timed it and it took 50 minutes. I don't think I'd ever timed it before. I wasn't going great guns or anything, but just a nice steady pace and a little under an hour to get that done. So that's not too bad. So now it's just about 9 o'clock and it's time to be done for today. I'm obviously dirty, sweaty, been a long day. Yeah, time to wrap it up. So some final thoughts here before I sign off. That was a really busy day. Not every day on the farm is like that, but I like days that go like this where we have a really structured set of goals and Dad and I each have things to do and we go out and tackle them and nobody has any trouble. We check in with each other once in a while, but he and I were both able to do our things. and just keep things moving along. And I enjoy it when things go like that. That's really nice. And it ended up being a nice variety. When I started shooting the video, I didn't know if I was just going to do a little bit of the hay cutting or try and, make a haymaking video and piece things together. But it just kind of worked out to bring you along with me through this wild kind of variety of stuff we were doing. So it's nice because you got to see that there's a lot of different parts in motion all the time around here where, the hay cutting was the beginning of that process, and selling corn is the end of that process, and fixing equipment is just perpetual and always going on. And then the bagging corn is, part of the production side of things. So it was a real mishmash of stuff, and that's kind of nice. You get a little flavor of everything around here. So for those of you who got all the way to the end and stuck with me, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming along for the ride, and I hope to be seeing you again pretty soon. Postscript, guys, it's the next day, and I'm back at the shed. I had the battery all charged up. I've been cranking this combine, and it would not start. And I could not figure it out. I was cracking fuel lines and trying to figure out where I was having an issue. And I think I finally got it, but I haven't gotten it started yet. But I'll show you what I think it is. All right, so we're looking under the bonnet. Down here is my oil dipstick. And right here is a connector plug. And one of the things that connects to is the alternator right here. And also, there is a wire, this green wire, goes to a solenoid, whoop, right here. See that green wire? On top of the injection pump. And that solenoid opens up, I don't know exactly how this works, but it opens up a valve inside of there that allows the pump to circulate. And without 12 volts to that, it won't pump, it won't supply fuel. So I'm pretty sure what happened was, at some point when I checked the oil, since it's been in the shed since last fall, I accidentally unplugged that connector. And after fiddling around here, I discovered it, plugged it back in, and now we're gonna try to start the combine. Okay, let's give it a whirl. Yep, that did it. Well guys, it just goes to show, sometimes it's the simplest things that'll get you. So for those of you who hung in there, for real this time, thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.